Boom. Keep them coming. What's going on, everyone? Bobbybarks here, and welcome to a video that we're doing today about The Last of Us Part 2. So, late 11th of June 2018, we got the first gameplay footage from Part 2's campaign. Very, very interesting. I want to talk about it in some detail. I'm going to play the trailer from start to finish, and we'll break it down and have some discussion around it as that trailer progresses. We also got, as part of the E3 Coliseum, Neil Druckmann talking about the trailer and about the game in general with a couple of other colleagues from Naughty Dog. So I'm going to try and incorporate some of what they said into the discussion as well. I do have some thoughts and theories based on previous trailers and posters and things that we've had so far about this game. So, what I need to stress to you first and foremost is that I haven't watched anyone else's videos. I imagine there'll be some similar videos out with people doing things like this. I haven't watched anyone's videos, so all these thoughts and theories that I've got are from my own opinion, and I do apologise if some of it is repetitive in other people's videos. I haven't stolen anyone's ideas. It might be that we just share similar opinions. The other thing that I need to point out as well is if you've not played the campaign for the original Last of Us game, then you're going to be getting some spoilers in this, because we are going to be talking about that ending as well. Okay, so first and foremost, let's play that trailer and we'll talk through it as it progresses. So we're opening up here in Jackson, which is where Ellie and Joel left the game at the end of the first one. We've moved on a number of years. We're having some sort of festival here within Jackson. Neil Druckmann did confirm that Ellie's about 4 years older than what she were at the end of the original game. So that would put her around 18. Now, I have seen in some of the snippets from other places that Ellie is 19 in the game, so I'm not sure if this is going to take place at the start and then we're going to jump forward a year for the actual game. So we've got a friend of hers coming up to talk to her here. So let's just pause that there and listen to what he said there. He said, "You old man." Did get confirmation from Neil Druckmann at that E3 Coliseum that they are in fact referring to Joel. So when that original trailer dropped, the first one that we saw where Ellie was playing the guitar, a lot of people in their reaction videos or in their analysis videos suggested that Joel might be dead for The Last of Us Part 2. And Naughty Dog have done a really, really good job at keeping people guessing on that front. They haven't confirmed one way or another whether Joel is dead or alive. The suggestion here is in this particular part, Joel is definitely alive. So the guy to Ellie's left, who is called Jesse, that gets revealed a little bit later in the trailer, played by Stephen Chang. He is talking about Joel giving him grief here about the patrols. So Joel is definitely alive in this part of the game. Now, there was no confirmation one way or the other that this is the start of The Last of Us Part 2. So we don't know within the time frame of the game whether this is the opening scene or whether it's halfway through the game. My personal interpretation is that this is the opening of the game. So the Naughty Dog employees were very, very cautious about what they were revealing in the E3 Coliseum and wouldn't confirm that this was the start. But my interpretation, based on what they said further in their interview, is that this will be how the game starts. So I believe this will be certainly part of the opening of the game.
What happened?
Another big lecture about my patrols. Don't go here, don't go
So
there.
he's talking about Joel there, like I say, giving him grief about the patrols that he's doing. So in Jackson, Jesse and Ellie are part of the same patrol, and then we've got this girl here called Dina, and it does sound like Jesse and Dina were part of a couple and have recently separated.
She say something to you?
Make it 1 week. Ellie!
And you can see a bit of tension here between these two.
What took you so long? Oh, I'm here, aren't I?
Dina?
Jesse.
Hey, don't forget we leave at first light, so get some rest.
We did get confirmation that Jesse is the... Let me just pause this here a minute. We did get confirmation in that E3 Coliseum that Jesse was sort of like the team leader, of, if you like, of this particular patrol that involves Ellie and Dina. And as you saw from the interactions there between Dina and Jesse, it's quite evident that they've had a bit of a break-up and they're not really on friendly terms. So, moving on.
Come on. Why don't you start with me? Okay,
We
I
get
have a very serious question.
some of the comedy element that we get in Naughty Dog games here.
How bad do I smell?
I do like that, you know, Naughty Dog still, even in the seriousness and the darkness of The Last of Us, can find some lines of dialogue where we're going to get some comedy. Remember, we got that from Ellie in the original game where she was going through the joke book every now and again as well. So, just pausing it again here and looking at the animations, the detail that you've got, and you'll see it when these two people touch, is how the hair and the flesh moves as they come into contact with one another. And I think that is very, very advanced. And they did talk about the animation team quite a lot in the E3 Coliseum about how advanced the techniques were that they were using. Now, you can see here with Ellie's face that she's obviously a lot older than she was in the original game, like we've already talked about, 4, potentially 5 years further on than what she was at the end of the original. But what they talked about as well is that Ellie's face for this particular game, and you can see it there in the expression, that she's starting to look a lot more like Ashley Johnson, who's the actress that plays Ellie. And they did say that they took 40% of Ashley Johnson's features and put it into Ellie's face. So 60% of Ellie's face is made up of the original character that they've just aged. They've done some sort of animation demonstration, really, that would show what Ellie would look like in 4 or 5 years' time from the original character that they had. And they've used 60% of that. And then they've used 40% of Ashley Johnson as well. So that's why Ellie's character's starting to look a lot more like the actress that's playing her. Now, the actress that's playing Dina is an actress called Shannon Woodward that you might have seen in Westworld, if you're a big fan of Westworld. She is in that quite a bit. And she was also in Raising Hope as well, which was a show I used to enjoy watching, actually. That's where I first saw Shannon Woodward performing. I was in Raising Hope. So, moving on.
Every guy in this room is staring at you right now.
So you can see from the dialogue between these two that there's a bit of a connection, and there's certainly some chemistry between them.
Maybe they're jealous of you. I'm just a girl, not a threat.
We know that Ellie is a lesbian from the original game, and we can see now that she has some affection towards Dina, and it bit of a shocked look on Ellie's face as Dina leans in for the kiss, but there must have been some sort of build up to that. I don't think Dina will be doing it to try and make Jesse jealous, although Neil Druckmann did confirm that everything was going really well within this community up until this night. So my thoughts on how the game's going to start and how you're going to progress into the actual story of the game is that potentially this love triangle that we've got between Jesse, Dina and Ellie is going to be the catalyst for the story starting. So something's going to go wrong on the patrol. They're going to break out into an argument over this. They're going to miss something. The patrol's not going to do its job properly because of the tensions between the three, and some marauders or some infected are going to break through the barrier that they're supposed to be patrolling. That's that's my initial thoughts. We'll get on to the new faction when we see the actual gameplay trailer. So we're cutting into the gameplay here, and the first thing that I want to mention is I'm going to pause this straight away, and I'm going to pick up on the fact of what's around Ellie's right wrist. So you see that she's got a bracelet around there. If we take it back a few moments and look back to the dance and that kiss, you will see that Dina is wearing the exact same bracelet. Now, Ellie was not wearing a bracelet at that festival, so I have a sneaking suspicion that something does happen to Dina at the start of the game, and Ellie's quest for vengeance is a little bit to do with Dina's death, or perhaps Dina's disappearance. Certainly one or the other. This gruesome scene, very, very gruesome. I mean, people complained a lot about the second trailer that they showed at PSX, but I mean, that's just as gruesome there. I know we got the Clipper wings bit at the PSX trailer, but I mean, that was just as gruesome there as well, wasn't it? Sticking a knife through the throat. So, okay, let's stop this here. So we've got the natural Naughty Dog crouch and stealth type game here. We've seen this a lot in Uncharted. We saw it in the original Last of Us, and now we're seeing it again in The Last of Us Part 2. Now, the clothing that Ellie is wearing here looks very, very similar to the clothing that she's wearing in the first trailer that we saw, where she's sat on the bed playing the guitar with blood dripping all over her. So I think that scene from that original trailer either comes directly after this part or directly before it. So I'm interested to see how this is going to pan out. She's got a bow, which is nice, because the bow was one of my favourite weapons in the original campaign. And where she's in now in the woods makes me think that it's the same or similar setting to the second trailer that we saw, where we saw the mystery woman getting hung, we saw other bodies getting hung. So as this gameplay progresses here, you're going to see similar scenes. So we're in the middle of the woods, we've got some burning cars, we've got people hung from trees, we see an execution scene very reminiscent to what we would have seen from the mystery woman in the second trailer that released. So, I mean, I do like the environment. It looks like they've worked a lot on the environment here. You can see the movement in the leaves as she's pushing through, pushing past. There we see the hung body. And we see these, I'm going to just break it out straight away, Seraphites, I think he called them, Neil Druckmann. Let me just check my notes. Yeah, Seraphites. So he called them Seraphites. Now, that is the name of the faction that is in this. So obviously in the original we had Hunters and Fireflies. In this one, in The Last of Us Part 2, we seem to be taking on a more religious vibe to the actual game. So a Seraphite, I did a little bit of homework as to what a Seraphite is, and it is a celestial monster. And if you look through like the Hebrew Bible, you'll see that a Seraphite is usually, that a Seraphite is known as a noble angel. So I think this particular faction, the Seraphites, this religious group that we've got here, we knew there was some religion played into it from the PSX trailer, as they called the people that they were executing apostates, which is another religious term. And as we know, an apostate is a person that renounces the religious belief, for want of a better word. And these Seraphites, I think, are people that believe that what they're doing, they're obviously portrayed as the bad people in this particular trailer, but Neil Druckmann did talk about there is no real good people and bad people. There's just people that do good things and bad things, for want of a better phrase, really. And these Seraphites obviously believe that there's some sort of noble faction that's on a quest to do good in the name of religion. So, moving on. do like the whistling technique. They did talk about this in the E3 Coliseum. Let's just pause this here. So, I mean, look at this on the left-hand side. On that wall on the left, you can kind of see there's like a picture of a woman. And then I think underneath, I can't quite make out the wording properly, but it does look like, "May she guide you." Now, who she is, I'm not really sure, but I'm definitely interested to find out. We've got some more hung bodies. Burnt out cars. We're going to see this execution scene that we talked about. I do kind of like the stealth element of the game, and it's always good to see that again in a Naughty Dog game. That's a pretty brutal scene there. But that whole scene, pausing it again, sorry. This whole scene that you're watching in front of you here is very reminiscent of what we saw in the PSX trailer. Obviously the mystery woman would have been in place of the hunged person there. But that's very much what they was trying to do to that mystery woman in that trailer. So a lot of people thought that PSX trailer was Ellie's mum, and it was set 20 years before the game was due to start. But it looks to me now, I think we can kind of gather that it is set in the modern era with Ellie. So the PSX trailer that we saw, I do believe, is part of the time frame that Ellie is involved in during the game. Whether it's Ellie's mum or not, still up for debate. I do think it is. You know, I'll be honest, I do think it is going to be Ellie's mum that is that character, because I think there's too many clues that point towards it. So again, that's a pretty brutal scene. You can see the blood dripping out on the floor as well, which I find absolutely amazing. I think that's great. A lot of whistling. So they talked about it in the E3 Coliseum that the whistling was, you don't get picked out. So like in any other games that we've seen and any other games that you've played, particularly stealth games like Metal Gear Solid or the original Uncharted and Last of Us and what have you, if you get spotted by an enemy, then all the enemies automatically know where you are and you get rushed upon by everyone. What they've talked about in this one is that there is a barrier. So if somebody spots you, there's kind of a whistle moment, and then that will ripple out to people nearby. So not everyone will be aware of your position. It'll only be people in the nearby vicinity that's within that ripple effect from the whistle. So I do kind of like that concept. I've not heard of that in any other game. A lot of people complain that this trailer doesn't really show anything innovative, but you know, that's, to me, that's quite innovative. So let's move it on again. Okay, so we can see there some of the things that Ellie's got in her backpack. So this is quite interesting. We see a little bit more further on, but as you can see, we've still got Molotovs at the bottom. We've still got that bottle. Whether you're a bottle or a brick fan, he's definitely got the bottles. I'm assuming we're going to have the bricks as well. It looks like the 9mm to the right. We've got the bow to the left. We've got the first aid kits, and we've got the smoke bomb. So we've got similar items again from the original game, and then we've got an arrowhead at the side of the bow, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it seems that you're going to have different types of arrows, so you're not just going to have a standard arrow with your bow, you're going to have different types of arrows, but we'll come on to that a little bit later. Do like that animation of that person going down. Don't just keel over and drop dead. We see him going down in stages. Now she's picking some craftable items up there. Now you saw there from the scene, again very reminiscent from other games, is that when that enemy came into the vision of Ellie, you saw that little white semicircle, part of that ripple effect of potentially getting spotted. We'll see it again a bit further on. do like this kind of environment where it looks like everything is accessible, so you can climb on top of just about everything. Now, she's about to go in for the kill here, but you see there, look, that little semicircle, and as you change direction you can see where it's coming from. Now these combat scenes are the best bit about this trailer for me. Brutal and smooth as hell. I mean, look at that. She's just left it in his face. And then she gets shot, holds her shoulder where she's being shot. It does look like she can take quite a lot of damage. Must be playing it on easy mode. And then she goes and hides in the grass.
Watch yourself.
Now I want you to listen quite carefully to some of the dialogue between these Seraphites as Ellie moves. It's nice that you can hide in the grass. I do like, let's just pause this again here, I do like the fact that you can lay down. Now we didn't get that in the original one. Don't remember you laying down anywhere, but certainly you can lay down while you're climbing and hiding under things. Whether you can lay down in general, I'm not quite sure. We haven't seen whether you can or can't, but certainly to access parts of the map, and this is what I'm talking about, the environment and the accessibility around it, is that it looks like you can climb under anything that's got a space, you can climb over anything that's an obstacle. I do like the fact that that is potentially there. It makes it feel a bit more open worldish.
Ethan. What? Wolf. She came through here. Damn it. Double back. Go.
Now, did you hear what that woman just said? Let's take it back a little notch. Listen.
Ethan. What? Wolf. She came through.
Now, two things that I picked up on there. The first thing is that she refers to the NPC as Ethan. And they did talk about this again in the E3 Coliseum. Is that they tried to give people names, the NPCs' names, every character that came on screen. They were trying to give them names so that it felt more realistic. That by having a name, it made them a character rather than just an AI character, NPC, jada jada jada, like all other games. The second thing that I picked up on in that dialogue from that woman there is that she referred to Ellie as a wolf. Did you catch that? Let's just take it back again and listen.
Ethan. What? Wolf. She came through.
Wolf, she came through here. Now, here's a little bit that I've seen that makes it a bit more interesting. Let's bring up the Outbreak Day poster number 2, which was published just before the PSX trailer release. Now you can see on this particular poster, we've got the arm with the hammer, we've got the flames, and what have we got in the smoke from the flames? We've got a wolf. Now, okay. So, we're starting to put some of the dots together. So what we know now is that we've got the Seraphites, we've got the Apostates, and we've got wolves. So, all these terms are, again, religious terms. We already talked about Seraphites and Apostates being religious terms. So what is a wolf in terms of religious and mythological terms? Well, you can interpret it in any type of mythology or religion, really. They all have kind of different meanings. But certainly the Christian symbolism for the wolf represents the devil. So I would imagine that these two factions, the wolves, which is what Ellie is a part of, and the Seraphites, which is the enemies, so to speak, in this particular trailer, are at odds with one another. So I think there's definitely something there between those. One of the other things that we picked up on as well in the first trailer that dropped, again, which was a religious term, is that you could make out a poster on the right hand side of where Ellie was sat playing the guitar. We had the scene from behind her, and you could see that poster on the right hand side. There was that Theseus name written on the right hand side, and it was one of the very few words that you could make out, and it felt like it was placed there as a bit of a clue towards something. Theseus, for those of you that don't know, was a mythical king, and a founder hero of Athens. So Theseus, if you like, could be Joel or Tommy, that is the person that's the founder of Jackson, which is where this community that Ellie's a part of, that the wolves are a part of, is from. So there's quite a few different bits and pieces that you can take from that, and you can make your own interpretations about it. But there's certainly things and clues there that's been pointed out within these trailers that's starting to connect some of these dots together. Okay, so
double back, go.
I think this was probably my favourite part from the trailer. The fact that this woman is coming round and she can look underneath the cars. It's not a safe space for you as much as what people kind of think. And the reaction, as soon as she sees Ellie, is quite good there. And then this bit where she gets dragged out. The animations for these fight scenes are quite incredible. Like I said earlier, they're my favourite part of the whole trailer in terms of innovation. Oh, run out of bullets and takes an arrow to the right shoulder. Now, as soon as you see the arrow go in, let me pause it again, sorry, do apologise. On the bottom right hand side of the screen, you can see there's a symbol that comes up as soon as she gets hit with the arrow, that's telling you that that arrow is stuck in your shoulder. And the health bar that you've got right in the middle there at the bottom right above the machete is starting to vibrate, and the health bar is going down ever so slightly. So let's keep his eye on it as she's running through. You can see there it's flashing white. The arrow on the bottom right hand side is flashing white as well. And the health is going down ever so slightly. So again, that's a new innovative type of thing that we're seeing from this game, is that she's been hit with an arrow, and whatever that arrow is stuck in her health is going to slightly decrease. I mean, that's a great idea for a game. I've not seen that anywhere else before. I don't genuinely play a lot of games, to be honest, but you know, most of you know I'm a massive fan of The Last of Us, but I've not seen that concept anywhere else. I do like that idea. As soon as she pulls it out, you see that symbol on the bottom right disappear, and it looks like she's going to be alright. I like the fact that she's still holding her shoulder. And then we're going to see some more action scene here. Starting with some stealth. You see that little white semicircle come out. I think she's going to get spotted. She's doing well to keep cover and hide. Moving into the long grass. Now we've got a dead body there in front of her. I'm not sure where that's come from or who that is. It seems a bit random that there's a dead guy there. Looks like somebody that could have been out on patrol. It's definitely not Jesse or anyone like that. It could have been another wolf that was out on patrol. Right, let's pause it here and have a look at this. Now, this is what I wanted to talk to you about when I said that we're going to talk to you a bit later about that arrowhead. So, we've got explosive arrows. I mean, how cool is that? So you can see we've got similar craftable items to what we had in the previous game. So again, we've got health kit, we've got bottle, smoke bomb, arrowhead. We've got that 9mm there. Looks like it's got a silencer on it, and we've got the bar. Now she's going to be crafting one of these explosive arrows that's taking up 15 parts and 1 explosive, so it seems quite expensive for the amount of parts and explosives that she's got. Obviously she only had 1 explosive part, that's now going to go, and then the parts in general on the left hand side, she only had 18 of those, so that's going to leave her with just 3. But I do like this idea of being able to craft different types of arrowheads for that bow. And look at the scene from that. I mean, what I like about this is that the explosion goes off and it, again, this ripple effect throughout the environment that you're creating through exploding that arrow, it's knocking some of the other Seraphites down on the floor. So again, these combat scenes, pretty impressive. Fact that she's getting thrown about, very reminiscent of the David scene, isn't it, from the original game? Getting thrown about. Dodges an arrow. I mean, that scene there with the arrows flying past you. The brutality of the scene. That, wow. I mean, how much health did that take out? I just nearly killed her. She takes him down with the arrows. I do like that it staggers him. And I do like that we're going to get a bit of dialogue from him before she kills him. I can't quite make out what he says to start with. I think he says noble and then something about the sacrificed lamb. And again, lamb, sheep, wolves and sheep. Well, let's just pause it there again and look at Ellie's face. Like I say, to me it looks like she's wearing the same clothes as she is in that original trailer. And here, after this particular scene, she's got blood all over her. So the scene where Joel enters the house from the first trailer, I think might be taking place directly after this scene. And then we're going to move back round to that kiss.
See, I told you. He should be terrified.
Definitely should be terrified. We get that nice smile from Ellie, which probably isn't going to last very long at all. So, there you have the trailer. Like I say, I was quite impressed with it. It didn't wow me too much because it was kind of everything I was expecting, but I wasn't disappointed by it either. There's a lot of people disappointed in it, but I certainly think that it delivered what it needed to deliver, and a lot of these people that are upset by it are probably still going to buy it anyway, let's be fair. So let's talk about some of the things that we've learnt from the trailer and what we learnt from the E3 Coliseum, some things that are going to be involved in The Last of Us Part 2. So we've got this new traversal and prone movesets. We've got this combat that's increased, and there's an emphasis on tension, interactivity and realism. The enemy AI references each other by name, like we talked about, and constantly communicates with each other. Again, that's something that I really, really like. It does say that there's going to be 2 different timelines explored in The Last of Us 2. So, you know, potentially the first trailer, the second trailer, the PSX trailer, could be from a different timeline, but it did feel like those Seraphites that were involved in that were part of the trailer that we saw as part of that gameplay. I'll be very, very surprised if these Seraphites have been around for 10, 15 years while, you know, the infected have been roaming around as well. You know, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I just think that they would have been referenced in the original if they were around at some point. It did travel quite far, did Joel, with Ellie, so you'd think he'd have come across something as big as that particular faction might be. We've got these new dodge and evade mechanics. It's a core part of the combat and melee. Again, talked about that. I thought that was really, really great. We've got a jump button. Will it be triangle? Triangle seemed to do everything in the original Last of Us. But yeah, we've got a jump button this time. We've got this more creative and emergent moments in combat, and that's a big thanks to the big increase of options that they've now got available in terms of animation. We've got the improved stealth mechanics, so we've got the crawl, obviously, that we talked about when she went under the vehicle. We've got prone, squeezing into tighter gaps, and like I talked about, I think the environment that you're playing in now is going to be a lot more accessible by the character that you're playing. Got expanded infected enemies and whole new classes. This was something they talked about in the E3 Coliseum, that there's going to be new classes of infected. So the infected are still going to play a big part in The Last of Us 2, although we didn't see them in this particular trailer. But we're going to get new classes as part of that. So it'll be interesting to see where this new class fits in with the other classes. So we had runners, stalkers, clickers and bloaters in the original. So whether these new infectees are going to be after bloaters, I don't really know, but I guess we're going to have to see. One thing that they did say is that you're not fully hidden when you're in the grass, so your extent of visibility does depend on the height and density of the foliage, which I think is a good move. Again, makes the environment more realistic in terms of interactivity with the NPCs. There's much more verticality in combat scenarios now, so it gives them more routes and ways to engage. Again, do like that in terms of the combat. Like I said, the combat feels really, really smooth. I do like the animations that go with those combat situations. Survival aspects are still a focus, so again, obviously that particular stealth element to the game. We've got different ammo types, which we talked about, explosive arrows, and each ammo type fulfills a particular strategy niche. So I find that quite interesting, that you might be able to play the game in different ways. For those of you that were very involved in the campaign of the original Last of Us, you could basically just go around blitzing everything in easy mode, but then obviously when you played the grounded mode, you had to ration everything and you had to play very, very stealthily to get through to that end. Animation system's completely overhauled, so everything is even more realistic and transitions are seamless. Talked about that, thought that was really, really good with animations. We've got a wide linear combat environments, and they're being expanded to be even larger and broader. So that will be nice if we do see some more combat animations and combat environments. I am keen to see how they're going to develop that. One thing Neil Druckmann did say is that he's not willing to give a release date until they're very close to releasing the game, and they're not very close to releasing the game. So I think that kind of confirms we ain't going to get the game in 2018. Some people did feel that we might get a late November, December release for this particular game of this year, but that's definitely not likely. There's a strong chance it will be out next year, but given what he said, it wouldn't surprise me if it ended up coming out in 2020. Simply because Naughty Dog, he did say he'd learned from his lessons, but they are very, very prone to giving a release date and then not fulfilling it and getting it pushed back. So if it gets round to June 2019 and we still haven't had a release date yet, I don't think you're going to see the game next year. I think it's likely to be 2020. AI system's been massively improved for added realism. Yeah, talked about that. There's no more auto AI telepathic awareness. So once you've been spotted, they'll whistle to and actually communicate with each other. We talked about that as we went through that gameplay trailer, and that for me is one of the key aspects of the game. I think that's a really, really great idea. And I'm looking forward to playing a game that will have that kind of environment of its NPCs. The enemy awareness and ability to seek player out improved. I do like that as well. I thought there were a lot of times in the original game where you could just basically hide anywhere and you won't get spotted. But I do like the fact that, he knows you're under the vehicle, so he's going to pull you out. Thought that was a very, very cool move. You can craft ammo. They did talk about that in the E3 Coliseum, that you can actually craft ammo. So if you're running short on bullets and you've got parts to be able to put bullets together or arrowheads together, like we saw with the explosive arrow, you can craft particular different types of ammo. So I think that's a great move. They did say in the E3 Coliseum that the demo set 4 years after the events of TLOU in Jackson. Whether the actual gameplay will take place 4 years afterwards, I seem to think that Ellie was 13/14 in the original game, and I have seen them say that she's 19 in this. So this makes me think that the gameplay is going to take place 5 years after the end of TLOU, and the demo that we've seen at E3 might just be a prologue to the actual game. Not the gameplay footage, but the cutscene with the festival at Jackson might take place 12 months before the actual gameplay. So, but we'll see, I guess. Talked about the Seraphites, obviously, we've talked about those. They did say Joel is somewhere out there in Jackson. We obviously got that dialogue from Jesse at the festival at the start, where he is talking about Joel. They did confirm that Ellie's old man is Joel. So certainly, like I said, Joel is definitely going to be alive at the very start of the game. I'll be very, very surprised if they kill him off. I think Naughty Dog have a habit of keeping the main characters alive. Everyone thought that they were going to kill one of the main stars off from Uncharted 4, which they never did. So I'll be very surprised if Joel or Ellie does die in The Last of Us 2. I think it could scupper any potential for a third video game, because they are the main characters and their relationship and chemistry and how they interact with each other was the main focal point of the original game, and I think they'll try and utilise that again in this one, and I'll be very surprised if they try and move away from it by killing one of the characters off. Use more advanced facial cameras and captures and mocap now, so that's more advanced than what they had when they were doing Uncharted 4. We saw some scenes between Shannon Woodward and Ashley Johnson about how they made that scene possible at the festival where they were kissing, and the way that they're all kitted out and what they talked about in terms of they kept sticking together and getting caught on each other certainly makes the game's animation a lot more clearer and a lot more realistic than what we've seen in any previous Naughty Dog game. So I think I've waffled on enough. They're definitely my thoughts and theories on The Last of Us Part 2. I'm really, really interested to hear what your thoughts and theories are. More than happy to watch any videos that anyone else has done if you want to reference something in the comment section as well. I think it's good that, you know, we try and gain as much knowledge and information from each other as we can to try and put those dots together, which I keep talking about. But yeah, I'm really excited for the game. Last of Us was a big part of my life back in 2013. Really, really enjoyed it. It was one of the few story mode games that, you know, kind of took my breath away, really, and I'm hoping that the sequel will do something very, very similar. I've struggled to find a game as good as The Last of Us since then. I could probably name 2 off the top of my head that were as good as The Last of Us, but it's very, very hard pressed to find something, and 5 years is a long time. You know, we're potentially looking at 6, maybe 7 years since the original before the sequel comes out. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. But I'm really, really hoping that it will deliver. And obviously, I'm hoping that there's going to be a multiplayer as well, because Factions was absolutely and still is one of the best multiplayers I've ever played. And it was kind of a bolt on, wasn't it, to the original Last of Us? Nobody bought the game thinking there was going to be a multiplayer on it. Certainly didn't buy it for the multiplayer. And yet 5 years later, I'm still playing the multiplayer. It's definitely a fantastic multiplayer. Certainly one of the best I've played, and you know, we'll just hope and pray that we get that again in the sequel, and that they make the multiplayer even better than what the original was. So thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.